It's not. You have Zelensky in
Got it.
Ukraine. We should
Yeah.
probably. So just to introduce real quick, right, we're the International Veterans Leadership Committee from Australia, Israel, the United States, right now on this call. And we're here to talk about burnout, but we're talking about other things in the cannabis space right now before we were recording. And that is the actions being taken at the European Union level and various countries across the globe. We were using Germany for reference.
Hmm.
And just as we hit the record button, I was bringing up Ukraine's announcement, or Zelensky's announcement, about wanting to provide access essentially for his citizens who are suffering through the trauma of war and all that stuff. But things are moving quickly, man.
That's cool. Is that part of that Ukraine Cannabis Supports Ukraine guys from last year that we met?
That's the first thought I had.
Yeah, yeah, because they were pushing and like we were like, yeah, cool, cool. You know, you got our backing.
But they went dark, right? Understandably
Mm.
so, because of what's going on in their area.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't even know. I haven't heard from our friends over there since we talked to them last, and I really do
Mm.
hope that they're doing all right. But if there's any way that we could reach out and reinitiate contact with them, just to kind of see where they're at.
Yeah, I think Bogdan was the main dude we were talking to. There was two of them. Bogdan had the better English. But
Mhm.
yeah, 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 we've still got his email, so I'll reach out to him tomorrow or later tonight.
Kowalski, what did Germany say? Is it just medicinal or is it recreational?
I think right now it's just medicinal. I'm about to send you guys over the link. But they've been talking about it and pushing it. It looks like they might try and do both at the same time.
Cool.
Just open up the market while providing access for medical patients. And if they end up doing that, that's going to end up setting precedents.
Mm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, isn't that just
Obviously, the bill language is in German, so I'm going to have to reach out to either my cousin in Germany or some advocate friends over in Germany to see if I can get the language in English for everybody.
And you're talking about the precedent, the recreational precedent, right?
Well, I think just precedent in general on how a rollout should happen and how they both have to operate simultaneously in order for it to work. It can't just be like we've seen before where a medical program rolls out and then once adult use takes effect, there's like no medical at all.
Maybe we can find the legislation bill itself already translated to English in the German website of the official website of the government, because if there is something I know about their work to make access for other native languages, which they do a big effort. I saw it in cities website, so the government website also have this kind of translation to more languages, so maybe we can find it there.
Or the United Nations.
You have some small stakeholders in the EU that already made some legislations about it. Luxembourg, not long ago, opened the gates for it, even though it's a small country.
Well, it's small, but with a big profile. And all of these recreational schemes they can't get away from scrutiny at the United Nations at the international level. They're going to be discussed next year when they convene to discuss narcotics policy. around the world. And I guarantee from the reactions that Egypt and other places were having, just to the conversation about loosening the restrictions on medicinal access,
Mm.
when we start going back and having conversations about now the recreational policies that are being enacted, not just in Europe, but in the United States, and how those profits are overshadowing the medicinal programs, it's going to be very interesting to be a fly on the wall at the international convention next year.
Friend of mine just got back
Hopefully,
from a friend of mine just got back from Thailand. He went there for a month and a half and just stayed up in the jungles and chilling out and stuff. And he said it was so amazing with the cannabis changes there in the law. Just it's just real. Yeah, I reckon it's just more peaceful. I mean, it's already a peaceful country, but people traditionally drink a lot of alcohol and stuff, and a lot of people are starting to get off that and onto cannabis.
Yeah, so in the United States, we're inundated with alcohol commercials.
Yeah,
Everywhere you look, all your sports games, all your, like, just basic, it feels like everything, your restaurants, your grocery stores, right? It's just in your face, little shot bottles or the new flavor, like for summer, right? And then when it comes to these cannabis rollouts, these programs for cannabis programs, they're like, no advertising to kids. You can't have
yeah, it's
anything that looks
disgusting. Hey,
appealing to kids or that looks cool, but yet you look at the alcohol commercials and it's all about, like, you got to fit in and come over here with the
yeah,
Modelo. Like,
yeah, you got to drink alcohol to be cool and in the cool club. And they're just pushing something that rips families apart and it's poisonous for your body. Same as tobacco.
yeah. Well, tobacco got hit way back in the fucking 90s, and then they couldn't advertise anymore, or the 80s.
Oh yeah, that happened over here in the
Wait,
90s, I think.
remember Joe
90s and
Camel?
2000s. Pardon?
Joe Camel, the Camel cigarettes,
Oh yeah.
that they
You
ruined
know, there was a big thing with the Marlboro Cowboy
that
after
one.
he died from cancer.
Hmm.
One of the funniest ones. One, I get, not funny, man. A lot of like serious shit, cancer and all that, emphysema and stuff like that. But there was uh, a campaign trying to get people to stop smoking or whatever. And I remember when they did the Limp Dick Cowboy Man for Marlboro, and the cigarette just, ooh. It started off like that, and in the image, it just went down.
they did it. They broadcast this also here in Israel long
It
time
was
ago. Yeah.
it was poignant. It was basically imagery. It didn't really say anything, but it got the message across. Right.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys see where I think it was last year, New Zealand changed the law so that you can't access tobacco if you're born after a certain date?
No.
Yeah, to try and
Yes.
phase it out of the country. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not like an age like 19 or 20. It's if you're born after a certain date, you can't have it. It's illegal.
Wow.
That's interesting.
cool.
The U.S. just changed their legal age of purchase about 2 years ago, I think, from 18 to 21. So now it's
That's
on
good.
par with alcohol.
But it's not on par with renting a fucking vehicle.
Nah.
You got to be 25 years old or something. I keep hearing this number, and I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't looked into it. I'm 40 years old, 41. You know what I mean? And I haven't needed to rent a vehicle in a while, so I don't know the age limits. But I hear a lot that there's like this 25-year-old rule, because that's when your brain is finally fully developed and all that stuff. And it just has me thinking about voting, about being in the military and learning how to kill people for a living, you know what I mean? And learning how not to get killed in that environment. But all kinds of other stuff, tobacco, alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. and then renting a car at 25.
Mhm.
And so, like, it just, especially when it relates to the military, right? Are are we knowingly putting people into a situation where everybody acknowledges that these people's brains hasn't fully formed yet or finished developing, right? And then from, let's say they go in at 18. Derek, you went in what, 16, 15, right? When you started your process, that's a lot of years before you hit 25. And when you,
Yeah, I was 10 years in the military when I was 25.
yeah, bro, when you were 25, you were already a legitimate veteran.
Yeah.
Wow. How, how do you justify that then? Like now, what are we expected to do with all these other people that are going around talking about how they're not developed anymore until they
Mm.
get to 25, but yet we're in these situations dealing with life and death decisions and consequences and repercussions and stuff like that. By the time we get out and we're 21, 22, do we have to act like we don't know better or act like we're not in a different mental state just to appease these other people who wish to put their head in the sand and create
Yeah.
a fantasy for themselves about how the
Yeah.
world
Well,
really works?
all the military training is brainwashing to reprogram you to what they need you to be. It's all boot camp is and
But
everything.
you know what's interesting about this, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and we can tie it into professional athletes. So professional athletes, most professional athletes are right out of high school. Most of them don't go to college, or if they do, 1 or 2 years, and then they go straight into professional athletic status until they're about 30 years old, 35 years old, most of them. And that's about retirement status for them because the body can't keep up
Mm.
with what's expected of them. And so then it becomes a conversation between the brain and the body. What are we doing that the brain is more developed or not developed to the extent in which our body is, that our body only fits this parameter between 17 and 35? Because that's what we're really talking about. The military wants you at your prime. That's why there's an age limit on when you can join, because once you get to a certain point, your body breaks down. And if your
Mm.
body starts breaking down, can your body perform?
It's not only the body performing, it's also your readiness to accept orders and do what you told. You still, in a way, you're still a child.
Mm-hmm.
You're still a product of the system, of the education system, of your society, of commercial and media, and whatever input the irresponsible people in the media and government putting into our brain to set us up to do whatever is needed, even though some of the things are not accordingly to our own statements of how people should live or act or take care of each other or protect life or respect ethics and law. And dealing with this dissonance in the military, it's a life and death situation. You cannot sleep. So it's molded into our system. And doesn't almost matter how, when we'll go out of this system. I don't know the army yet that's put in the same effort at least in giving the fighters the skills they need to be a soldier, a good one, and then do it in the same way when they go back to civil society. So we are still fighting, still have the mechanism of fighting and aggression and fear and life or death into the civil society. And it's holding us back with guilt and shame and habits from accessing whatever we need to feel better, to go back to life. And it's burning us, connecting us to what we wanted to, that will be the main topic of our conversation today, burning out. And every day for us that either us not taking the responsibility, doesn't matter the reason, awareness, knowledge, support, whatever, or the government, the respective government, US, Australia, Israel, not taking full responsibility and liability for not making us run after our rights or recognition or healthcare or medicine or rehabilitation. They should push it towards us, closing the time gap. They should screen people for PTSD, for trauma, every few months when they're serving the military. The same they should do it for our caregivers and therapists, because we know the science that it's passing. Post-trauma doesn't stay with the person that lived the trauma or experienced it, survive it. No, echoes into his life, to his family, to society, and it's burning the ability of society to communicate.
So that brings up a big question, Nahum, that I feel you're probably the best capable of answering, is how does this type of mentality affect civil society when your civil society is at war?
Okay. 2.5 years ago, I said in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, that untreated trauma and post-trauma are like a cancer, a violent cancer into society that is terminal. If you won't treat it, it will be terminal. It will go everywhere, anywhere, in a rate that will accelerate. And every organism that we meet in nature that is alive is a survival of trauma. Also us, humans. So we can choose if we want to decay and die as a persons or society, or we want to thrive. The responsibility of the people that put us, equipped us, trained us, said that they will be liable for our health if needed. It's in the contract. The written one, the laws of these countries and civil rights, the international civil rights. But it's not fully done. It's not done fully or efficiently by, as far as I know, none of our governments. And it's burning us. And people take their own life and people hurting other civil society. And it's not something that we should accept as granted.
I think you see it in our country, specifically the United States, right now, real time. If you look at our recruitment issues, our inability to fill the ranks, and a lot of the people who have been a part of this global war on terror for the last 2 decades plus now are telling our family members, nah. Like, our family members are coming to us thinking that they're going to get our support, thinking that they're going to get a high five and a clap in the back about wanting to pursue a career in the military, only to be met with, you're crazy. Have you not paid attention to my situation? Have you not seen what it is that I've gone through personally, right? Speaking of burnout with the military, after my deployment to Iraq in 2004, 2005, and seeing how things were actually going down on the ground and risking my life for that, and then coming back and seeing how completely out of touch our society was, from everything to the media reports they were getting, to the political campaigns they were attracted to the hero worship at our sporting events, where it's being shoved down your throats. Military this, military that, heroes this, hero that. I'm not a hero. I'm not a hero. I was a dumb kid who got caught up after 9/11 into some retribution on a massive scale, right? And signed up for it. What I thought was patriotic, what I believed to be my duty as a citizen, my obligation to my country, right? To go over there
Under the framing of saving freedom, saving democracy, saving life.
All these premises, these ideals that are put forward and are espoused in all our countries about what it is that we're believing and living for. And so it took me, after that initial burnout as an adult, but not even according to science now, adult. And going back to the age thing, it's almost like what you said, Kowalski, with your body and what's been acknowledged with the mind and its development. The 17, 18, 19-year-olds have been specifically targeted because they're at peak physical performance and they're still dumb enough to believe the hype. And still naive enough to throw their bodies into the meat grinder.
And still easy to pull the trigger if needed and if not needed.
Well, that's training. That's training. That's training, and not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. Even people like downrange, like for me personally, in my experience in combat, there were people that I had trained with on a regular basis for a prolonged period of time who in that moment, in a ambush or some type of close quarter exchange, could not operate the way you needed them to move. Froze, or something happened. And nothing against them saying that now, but at that moment, your liability and the way I personally interacted with those types of people was harshly, very harsh, because my life's in jeopardy now. And I'm not going to be thinking, if you're going to be able to watch my back, if you're acting like this, get away from me. Get away from me now. But coming back where I am now as a citizen, veteran, yeah, but I'm a citizen again. Yeah, I'm not in the military. I'm not toting a gun. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm gardening. I'm into art. I'm trying to ease into old age. Yeah, and whatever that brings, heading into my twilight. But I feel some kind of way about how I interacted with those people now, who couldn't do the things that the rest of us were doing. And then only afterwards, like having that, it was my job, but still feeling something, but it wasn't right. What does that mean? And were they right? These people who couldn't perform, were they right? Was that the right thing to do? And so what does that mean in the society now that I'm trying to transition to be an active citizen again, to go back to school, to be around a bunch of people that just graduated high school or just, have been in college and are looking to go into postgraduate work or the professional world, and they don't know about the things that I know now. But yet my brain isn't still fully developed yet, so I don't have the right to talk on adult things. Excuse me? But that burnout, that initial burnout with the meds from the VA, the psych meds, the pain meds, the sleeping meds, the booze on top of it, I almost didn't make it past that initial burnout to even be able to recognize that's what it was. You know what I mean? And each successive burnout, because for me, it's not just oh yeah, that happened to me and now I'm just hunky dory, everything's great, and it's been a smooth ride since then. Like, this is an everyday, week by week, month by month, right? It's like stepping on a landmine, a really, really well hidden landmine. You don't suspect, you don't see, and then it just boom. And all of a sudden, like, I have no energy. I can't focus. I don't want to engage with anybody. I'm uncertain about what it is that I've been doing. I don't know if it's even meaningful or worth a shit because of the way the bigger system seems to be. And I would like to think that I'm not alone in that. You know what I mean? I really would. But sometimes it feels like, man, nah, this is you, bud, and you're in like a fucking deep well. And there's nobody who can hear you. And every second, minute, hour, you're worried about somebody sealing you in that motherfucker. And that's just where you're going to be.
Did anyone teach you when you were a kid or a young man, or when you recruited to the army, the military, someone ever taught you that this is the moments you should not be alone? This is exactly the moments when you should share or do something or be active about it? Or they just told you, doesn't matter, just suck it up and continue?
I mean, I have to be honest, I'm sure I heard that. Both of them, right? From different people. So like from...
Not from people, from the system.
No, I didn't. Well, no, I mean, I can't. I'm sure that I had that from various counselors growing up, right? Who were able to see that I was in a rough situation, or maybe I could use some encouragement. Vividly, I remember that intervention occurring after I was out of the military. Was in the military police corps in the army. Right, you're small piece of the puzzle, and the longer you're in the military police corps, the more people you know in the military police corps. And from duty station to duty station, after a certain point, yeah, you're rotating with basically the same people in different environments. And so if something happens at one post and you're labeled as a liability,
Yeah.
because you've gone and you've talked to some counselor about some issues you had on a deployment or somewhere else. And now people who are your peers or leadership are looking at you, wondering if you're going to break in the kind of situations that I was describing earlier, and subject them to risk, right? Putting into question whether or not they're going to be able to make it home to what it is that they value. And so once that happens, man, you should pretty much call your shit, go into the office and say, you know what, my time's up, I'm good, and then get the fuck out of the military, because you're gonna get talked about, you're gonna miss promotion, you're gonna be on shit detail, yeah, and even though you may not know why initially, you'll get the point eventually, yeah. And then once that happens, it'll be that much worse, because these are people that you had trusted your life with and who you thought you had this bond, this unbreakable bond with. And now you're being kept at an arm's length because, well, you're a risk now to them. And so it flips everything that you thought on its head. You know what I mean? And for me, I wasn't able to come out about what I was experiencing until I had made that decision in my mind that when that happened, I was already resigned to the fact that I was going to be in therapy and that I was going to be doing something different and that it wasn't going to be my problem because that wasn't going to be my primary function anymore as an MP or deploying or doing anything with responsibility in the community. Because as soon as you start talking about your issues, then this stigma comes in. Right. And then all the thank you for your service starts to feel like a backhanded compliment. And then all the hero worship really does get frustrating because they're not talking about you. They're talking about the veterans that they identify with. Those people are talking about the veterans that they respect. And if you come up to be a veteran who's against the war, and as soon as they hear that, you might as well not have ever fucking worn that uniform because as far as they're concerned, you ain't nothing but a piece of shit.
Mm.
And from my experience, that's how it's been with cannabis too. And so it was like a double whammy, coming out, asking for help, letting people know that I've reached my burnout point. And then after a while of like dodging and diving out of the way of the overdose from the pills that they were giving me and the booze that I was taking on my own, deciding to go towards what I believe to be a healthier alternative in the form of cannabis. I know I'm talking a lot right now because I got caffeine and cannabis in my system, so I'm going to be quiet and let you talk for a second.
That's okay, Rico. I was just enjoying listening to you while I was having a blunt outside in the wind. Oh.
I want to
Yeah, it's
point
funny.
something. Yeah, keep up.
Oh, I was just saying, like, burnout. Like, there's different. I guess, yeah. When we hit a point where we burn out, we do different things. So, you know, we either isolate or whatever the thing is we do. But yeah, everyone sort of goes through common bits in it. But yeah, it's good if you can recover from burnout and then get back into what you need to do.
One thing I've noticed about burnout is when does burnout take place? And most of the time that burnout takes place when things slow down. When you're forced to actually think about what is going on, not only in the moment, but think about the things that have already gone on and things that you've been through. And I think that that's the important part of when things slow down, especially in high stress situations, career fields, even us with our advocacy work. When things slow down, I think is the time that we need to get closer to our community so that we're not going through these things by ourselves. Because like you said, Derek, you know, with isolation's big for us, especially once we hit that burnout state. And so if we can just avoid that isolation component and reach out and get closer to our comfortable individuals, our friends, our family, and dwell in that silence essentially with those that we appreciate and we know appreciate us. Having that, I think, is important, even especially getting through it. It's almost impossible to get through it on your own.
Yeah, I think of this last burnout I've had. I just sort of retreated into myself, but then also ramped up my self-care for physical and mental health. And then, like, you know, like beginning of last year when I got into that surf and stuff, you know, yeah, that I used to go bush, for a week or so by myself to ground and reconnect with nature, and that stopped working a few years before, and things were getting worse. And then I found that salt water was just the foam is like negative ioning, I don't know, negative ionization or something like that, some crap. But basically, yeah, it's grounding you. I think immersion in that over a period of time, and then trying to meditate. Try to meditate every day, but then I'm averaging about every third day. So I'm trying to average every second day, just gradually, bit by bit get better. But yeah, yeah, sort of game changers, I guess, in a way. Just trying to increase the mental health a bit.
One more question or point I wanna light about burning out, is how do we identify it? When do we are we able to act on time, or like for example, I'm experiencing in the last few months that I'm burning out slowly and burning more and more, and things are getting to a point they only need more of my attention. So I cannot find a way to, like you said, center, take only, like I'm discussing with your friends sometimes, and to do whatever I need to my own personal home and family, and not to reach out too much, but the out and us are already in communication. There's expectations, and there's again the hero syndrome and the fighter syndrome, that we are able to do everything. Yeah, I can do this and the court and put in a village into life, and making research and study and be a good father and a husband, and to treat my service dog well, and to make sure my physical status is okay. I eat well, I sleep well, I communicate well. I'm not sure, I know it's impossible, but I'm still having this molded setup into my mind of a warrior. It's a mission. I have few missions. They define the bigger mission in overall. I cannot let go of any one of them. But reality is that we have to let go of some of them, at least for a while. And I already identified it. I'm experienced with burnouts in the past. I have a big toolbox, and still I'm burning, and I can feel it. I'm going to the parliament to discuss our issues. I'm coming back home, and for a week, the entire home is a mess up because of my frequency and energy and stress levels and echoes. Any advice?
Meditation, 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day. Find a YouTube meditation person that vibes with you. And it took me about a month or two. Jack Cormer, I think this dude, he's pretty cool. But yeah, and just force yourself at the same time every day, put your phone on airplane mode, because as soon as you start meditating, the phone will ring or something will happen. Put it on airplane mode and listen to the meditation, download it beforehand type thing.
Yeah, I feel that way. I've felt that way. And going back to what Kowalski was saying, we're built for that. Our training's built for this high stress environment, this go, 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 mission, mission, mission. I'm up, they see me, I'm down, shoot, move, communicate, get past it, get past it. You know what I mean? And I would be lying if I get a high from that. I get a high from working, you know what I mean, on something meaningful. And it's a drug for me being tapped into meaningful work. And I despise being just stagnant. I don't like small talk. And I don't like to waste my time on stupid shit. And so it seems to play out then as a result that on my stove, so I look at it as like a stove. In my life, like in my projects and stuff like that, I got a big ass stove that I'm cooking on for my life. And this isn't a new analogy or whatever, but I'm twisting it. There's things that I have in the front burner on high heat. This shit's going right now. Boom, we're active. We're getting the shit done. And then there's shit, for whatever reason, that gets rotated to the back burner. And there's several back burners at various levels of temperature. And then after a while, there's old shit or stuff that is no longer serving the kitchen or the house that needs to be tossed the fuck out. And so learning to identify that and then how to pivot. So that's really what we're talking about, especially when you're juggling all those different responsibilities and obligations and whatever. You're pivoting constantly and you're trying to leverage experiences into different advantageous positions for whatever mission or goal that you've set out for yourself or your community, yeah, or your family.
I think that's important right there, what you just said, and we should probably focus more on that. Our experiences drive how we do and live our lives. And so experiences in that essence coming from the warrior mentality, right? That's our experience. That's what we have to utilize to get through our day-to-day lives. And it's up to us to try and pick and choose what tools that are available to us through our experiences to understand the situation we're in and then to get through said situation we're in. Now, trying to look at that as a civilian now, like you stated, we are, what does the average civilian do or have to go through in their experience in life, going through college and, not having the whole, I don't know, life or death type of experience maybe would be a good one to pick out as far as like.
Well, point of order, just real quick, dude, you don't have to be in the military to experience life or death shit. And so speaking of trauma, Nahum, you mentioned there's these techniques or things that are being developed to identify traumatic, right, susceptibility or for negative outcomes, right? It could be argued that just being born into this world, our various societies to various degrees are filled automatically with trauma, right? That experience, birth, is traumatic. And not everybody makes it through that shit intact and in one piece. The mom, the baby, the other people, yeah, postpartum depression and other illnesses and stuff like that. There's things that occur that make life hard from the beginning, yeah? And leveraging your experience, right? And pivoting into something else, learning from that experience, learning to recognize your own red flags, cues, and warning signs that your body's giving you, yeah? But also having the ability to observe others and to see people get into difficult situations and to learn from how they engage that. What happened to them? Did they get locked up? Did they get hurt? Did they get committed into a mental asylum? Are they disabled? Can they find a job? Are they wealthy now? Do they have a good family? Are they respected in the community? How'd they do it? What were they confronted with, right? Even your friends, because there's constantly opportunities provided to learn in order to avoid certain situations that maybe you haven't lived through or experienced, but you remember, right? If you're able to look outside of your own situation and get into the practice of observing the community that you're in and the people that are in it, to learn from that group, your tribe, in other words, so that then you can, without having to go through the negative shit, ideally, put into practice the good behaviors and stuff that will get you closer to where you want to be in that homeostasis.
I want to add that you have this and you have the epigenetic side, like you said. If we look on my country, Israel, Holocaust survivors build up the Israeli state here, and we're in a constantly state of warfare. Our people was treated most of the last 3,000 years not that nice by other cultures and religions. And in 2015, a Jewish researcher named Rachel Yehuda, she showed in a research that's been published over and over and been researched more and led to other researchers that it does matter if we treat the trauma we meet in life, because she showed on Holocaust survivors, on war veterans, and on females that been sexually arrested or assaulted, that if the trauma stays in our genes, that the kids of people that been through trauma and had PTSD are more sensitive to have post-traumatic stress syndrome if they will meet traumatic events in their life. And now, as Rico, like you said, life is constant chains of traumas in different levels. We have the wisdom, and all the generations came before us in us, ready to deal with it, but we also need to learn how to use it, how to activate it right, how to breathe right, what to eat, how to go to bed, when, how to make our personal habits and interests fill us with meanings, with meaning and with energy, how to make our environment thrive so we can thrive in it, because it's connected. And our societies don't do that now. There is a wave of awakening, and we're part of it, I have to say, being able to discuss it 3 continents around the globe in the same time. This is very unique and special in my eyes, this communication. And maybe it's not money or food or clothes or, I don't know, furniture in my home, but what I get from you guys in this relationship, in this communication and support is an energy that we have to, I think that's what we try to do when we also record in our conversation, and hopefully more people will take their time to learn from our experience, and maybe invite us to learn from their experience. This is a way with healing into our own communities, because I will carry your message, your knowledge, your experience to the people I meet every day. and you give me hope and strength and roadmap for things that I will meet in the future, and to be more active and to be part of a community, to be meaningful. And this is the counter to burning. I have to admit, I have a habit that when I feel bad, I go to see if someone Facebooked me, one of you guys, or LinkedIn, or email of the IVLC, or going to our website to read something that I haven't read yet, because there's a lot of information there.
I think it's important. I've talked about it, Ricardo and I have talked about it a lot, having to come together and go through some shared experience, and having that shared experience, being able to be honest, being able to be transparent with not only myself, but with someone else, to allow myself to live up to what I expect of myself. And two, it helps to help pull out of that hyper focus state, because I know for me, I have a tendency of hyper focusing a lot. So if we have like an active project right now, I'm real good at shutting everything else out but that one thing, and doing just that one thing. And then I watch everything else around me go to crap. Because I'm not keeping up on my chores. I'm not keeping up on myself. I'm not keeping up on, the other things in my life, like we talked about at the very beginning, that are expected of me day to day. And so having that open, honest communication with somebody through this has helped push me past that whole hyper focus state and go, well, my hyper focus state can be utilized beneficially, but it needs to be utilized on me. It needs to be utilized on my life, my situation in life, and where I am. Because eventually, hopefully, this whole issue, this whole problem that we have come together to try and solve is going to be solved, is going to be fixed. It's not going to be a problem. I know more problems are going to arise to that, but gaining the skills to transition from problem to problem now, I think is going to help benefit later from preventing the burnout, from preventing me again going through that downward spiral of feeling like I hit a brick wall all of a sudden, and trying to figure out how I'm going to break through the wall, get around the wall, get over the wall. Do I have to go under the wall? Or am I just going to sit here and dwell in the fact that there's this damn wall in front of me and I ain't going nowhere?
When you were speaking, I thought about something. You said I have this mission and I will focus on it, and all the other things will go to crap. And in the army, it's exactly what you do, but the other things don't go to crap, because there are other people that this is their excuse me for my language, their fucking mission. Okay? They will make sure you will have food when you go back from the operation to the base. They will make sure the cars are ready. They will make sure there is insurance, you have healthcare, that you have the intelligence you need, that your guns are the best gun there is, the ammunition is the best ammunition, that you did check your sites, that you did have all the equipment. You don't have it in civil life. And when you go back on mission mode, you can focus, you can do it really good. You will put everything you have into it, but the rest will go to crap, because in real life you don't have the same efficiency as the army have, because it's life and death. So We need to bring civil society to be a little bit more responsible. And that's government job to do, and it's our responsibility to share our truth, to have our voice heard, to have our experience be heard. Because maybe now no one will listen, but if you won't put it out there, no one will listen.
And I think that it's important too to point out that that's not just through our voice, right? Through this, but through living it, through the actual action of it, through going out. Like for me, it's gardening and bowling. It's to put myself back into my community, to interact with my community, to try and better my own community in which I live in, to share my experience with a lot of the people I hang out with now, who, you know, it's real interesting, and it's been real fun and amazing knowing the fact that like a lot of the kids I bowl with are 21, 22 years old, and were just being born or barely old enough to remember 9/11 or the fact of me joining the military. And it's like, our experiences are not the same, and just sharing our experiences together and sharing stories together and just trying to understand one another, it's been eye-opening. It's been great, but it's also proven the fact that by doing does a lot more than just saying.
I wanted to give, like, Derek, you look like you're a couple minutes from CP time. So I've just realized that we didn't do a couple things. We didn't introduce ourselves. I mean, we have Derek with his name up there, but maybe it would probably be useful to kind of just go around, say our names, where we're from, what we did, why we're here. But I think like at the end of our conversation, we could do that. As kind of like a sign off, like, by the way, hey, this is who I am. Because it is getting on towards like 11 o'clock where you're at, right, Derek?
Yeah, it's like 20 past 11. No, I was watching with my eyes. I just had like really, really slinty eyes because I had that split before outside, and I was like laying back here. I was still watching. I was like starting to drop a bit. That's why I was fidgeting around. But yeah.
And so I think that's also something is like staying when you know it's like your body's telling you like, hey man, something like, hey, but it's almost like being at a good party. You don't want to leave because as soon as you do, something's going to happen, and then you're going to hear about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why was I know I have something to contribute to that point. Like, boom. So it's like you just stay, and you stay, and you stay, and then you end up getting frustrated. Like, this is all we doing? Like, yeah, looking at each other all salty. When really it's like, man, like, if there's nothing to do, go about your business as you were until we got to get back together again and do something. There should be no real expectation that you're going to be on call 24/7. Like, not me, man. I got plans. Like Kowalski was saying, I'm going back to learn some stuff at the community college here. I love to garden. I love hanging out with my puppies. Been doing a lot of work around the house. So giving myself permission to engage in these type of activities. It's all right for me to play with my dog. It's all right for me to sit down and read a book. It's all right for me to take a nap in the middle of the day. Right? It's all right for me to go for a walk. I don't owe anyone an explanation for how it is that I spend my time at this point in my life. And learning to acknowledge that and accept that and own that, and then to fill my time accordingly from there. Well, if that's true, and I am able to make up, and I realize like I'm fortunate being able to say that. There's a lot of people stuck down with their work schedule, stuck down with their parenting schedule, with a lot of things. But for me, where I'm at right now in my life, I have that luxury. It feels bad at times because I know that I'm capable of certain things and I want to help. I volunteer a lot because I want to help. And getting away from that sense of obligation and turning it more towards the passion and for the love of it, right, has been a big focus for me. And in my therapy work, going to my counseling sessions and stuff like that. I got another one coming up in a couple weeks, right? I got to constantly squeeze the pus out of the nasty shit that develops in here. I mean, and words matter. They really do. The words that we tell ourselves in our head, the words that we allow in from others, and the words that we use to describe things, it matters. So problems, maybe it's better to say, or better, right? Maybe it's useful to start referring to them as opportunities. Opportunities to learn about yourself. Opportunities to demonstrate some of the skill sets and things that you've picked up along the way. Going back almost to like a Buddhist or Stoic philosophy, like being the patient observer, right? The feeling to, for me, get out there and take everything on has slowly kind of shed off. It's almost like a realization that given my best, it's still lacking. And that's true for all of us because it's going to take all of us together to do anything. And so individually, right, I have things that I can lend my skills towards, right? But the reality of me being some kind of Superman hero, what are we in a comic book? What the fuck? Like it's not the way things work ever. Like you need people around you, your family, right? Your support team. That's 100% accurate. The military system's the biggest a tribute to the socialist experiment that I know. Military is 100% socialism. It is the grand experiment in socialism. You're living off the people's money, dude. Your entire existence is based off of tax dollars. As a service member, right, a fighting member of the military, as a veteran, as a pensioner, your income, right, all those boots, all those things that you talk about come from your neighbors. All your neighbors pitch in collectively through their taxes into a centralized point with your government, which goes out, right, through, in the United States, stuff like the National Defense Authorization Act, right? Your budget, what you are allotted to spend for your equipment, for your personnel, for your retired people, for their health care, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, when we get out and we're civilians, right? Socialism's bad. Your neighbors, you shouldn't expect anything from your neighbors. You shouldn't expect anything from your community. You shouldn't expect anything from your government. You shouldn't expect anything from the businesses that are stealing your resources in your neighborhoods. Stealing, like, how many different water companies are there providing bottled water? Where do they get that water? They go and suck it from your lakes and your streams and whatever, and then they turn around and sell it back to you. So they're getting it for basically nothing. And then now, once they package it, they're selling it to you for ridiculous sums. And it's the same with our medicine, the cannabis and the psychedelics, right? When we provide it for ourselves, it's bad. But when they figure out a way to isolate the compounds and put them through their patent process and stuff like that, so that they can charge $10,000 for a dose or a session for MDMA or whatever else they're trying to pitch, then it's good. Then not only is it good, but you have to take it. And speaking of ads, why is it cool for pharmaceutical companies to be advertising like they do in the United States? I don't know if they do in other countries, but over here, wow, man, all kinds of different ads for all kinds of different pharmaceuticals. And at the end, you get a real fast talker that goes over the side effects and stuff like that. But again, rant complete. That's my 2 cents. Like, the burnout has many forms, right? And so just one thing, the military, personal life, etc.
The burnout have many forms, it's really true. And I think that the one we didn't mention enough in our conversation is the trust. The issue of trust with this socialism experiment that we've been sent to be part of, the military, like you said, Rico. We are putting our trust in when our brain is young and easy to put faith and have imaginary ethics being applied. And it's burning us when we face reality and learning that the same public that fund us and fund our training and our pension and our benefits and whatever is the same one that elected people that are so irresponsible to the value of life. And now I think that all of us, at least the four of us and our missing friends that are not attending, value life in all of their forms. And it's a constant clash for us when we come back to civil society and we see the entire society is unrespectful for life in every form. You use the word waste. Well, energy have few forms. It's have like physical forms. How do we use a resource in our current systems? Where is the contaminations go? Not only the social issues. What air do we breathe? I just read in the last week, that the average person breathe the amount of plastic you have in a credit card every week. This is war on nature. This is war on life. And it concerned us. We value life. We want to live well. We want to thrive. We want our friends and offsprings to thrive. We want to have meaning to whatever we went to fight for. We didn't went to war to fight, put the uniform and use the guns in lethal way, or take care of injured friends or people or enemies. That there will be no life. The other way around, in my country, the armed forces called the Israeli Defense Forces. Defense for life. And when our leaders are irresponsible in every field we look, medicine, education, housing, communication, culture, everything. We still have our fighting skills and we don't want to use it in civil society. We want to value life, and that's burning us constantly. And when we need to go to the same government, hospital, VA, healthcare system that we put our trust into, and we need to go with untrust, it hurt us physically and psychologically. And there's this thing called institutional betrayal. And we want our institution to be full with courage, not betrayal, and hiding things, and not saying the entire truth, not saying about lying, which also happens, even to us, to the veterans. Take this medicine, it will make you feel good, it will help your symptoms. Take this one as well. Don't read the little letters that say don't take it together. Don't read the little letters that say it can kill you. Nah, don't do that. And then we see our friends fall. We are the survivors here. And it's burning us to see our friends fall and our society falls. And I don't know. That's what my 2 cents about burning and why I'm trying to be active. To force my state to take responsibility in my personal journey and community.
Maybe this is a good place to close it up and wrap it up and introduce ourselves. Like Nahum, like please just introduce yourself, like where you're at, what you do, what brought you here, and whatever else.
So I'm Nahum Lamor Friedman. I'm 39, from Israel. I'm a veteran from the reconnaissance unit of the paratroopers. In my journey, I've dealt with my PTSD for many years without treating it, without discussing with myself, and now I'm trying to do the other way around. I'm a kibbutz member in Kibbutz Magan Michael. I'm a father to Mayan. I'm a husband and hopefully a good man to Meital, my wife, which is the real magician in our family. I'm graduating from Reichman University soon, government and sustainability. I've been active and advocating for mental health issues in the veterans community and for sustainability in Israel. I'm really proud and happy to be part of this group, the IVLC. And I'm trying to make my own personal mission to reality to build a recovery village, a healing and a recovery village, an ecological eco-village for veterans with PTSD in Israel, and to combine the holistic approach, nature, technology, and people. And I have here my service dog, which is in a carpet mode now, Mr. Smith. And I have to say, since I have him living with me after 1 year and a half of training, we are 7 weeks together. And now from a reality that once or twice a week, I have a strong seizure of PTSD that I cannot breathe or function at all, like a heart attack. For 7.5 weeks, I haven't had one. So
awesome.
Connect with nature is life. Is what I wanna do. What I wanna do. Be steward for life.
Oh, keep going around the circle, I guess. As you said, Rico, wrap up and introduce ourselves. Derek Pyra, Royal Australian Air Force veteran, 49 years old now. Yeah, been on a bit of a mental health journey after Iraq back in 2003, and ended up on a lot of medication for about 17 odd years, and had a lot of negative effects of that, like everyone gets. Weight gain, zombie, lose family relationship, just not able to function and feel. And found cannabis was a life changer, lifesaver, and been trying to campaign for that the last couple of years, trying to get the Australian government, Department of Veterans Affairs, to realise that veterans in Australia need access to medicinal cannabis as an option, because current medications are poisons that don't work, and it's killing us. So, yeah, and happy to be part of this group. Happy to realise I need social input and community. I found a connection in the last, year and a half with surfing, to starting to surf, learning that. But yeah, it's all pretty cool.
I'm Ricardo Pareda. I'm 41, from Tucson, Arizona, and I served in the United States Army Military Police Corps from 2003 until, I guess, technically 2009. And then after that, I used my GI Bill to go to the University of Arizona, where I studied public management and policy with an emphasis in criminal justice. And I have a minor in military science and leadership. I'm also a fellow of various civic leader organizations, like the Flint Brown Fellowship and the Mission Continues, to name a couple. But I've been in the harm reduction and suicide prevention line field since 2010, when I got onto campus and I started serving in leadership roles there with the Student Veterans of America chapter of the University of Arizona. That work led me to start collaborating with various individuals in the cannabis industry around 2013. From then, it's just kind of been full throttle, balls to the wall, thrown right into the middle of the deep end, and learning on the fly, but also making really great relationships and contacts with people like these gentlemen on the screen with me here, and being able to collaborate with people like them has been motivating, but also a lifesaver. Like you were saying, to be able to reach out to somebody who's experiencing similar things in the same field, who are knowledgeable in the various situations at play at any given time, to be able to spitball ideas off of and get their feedback, which is critical, to get outside of my stinking thinking, you know what I mean, has been really powerful for me in this work, to feed my soul, right, day to day. Mr. Smith, you got right there, my puppies are over here still asleep somewhere. They don't like to be disturbed before the sun's all the way out. But like you were saying, Robert, about the things that we serve to protect. And for me, it's the innocent things, the pure things, the things that don't know any better, that my heart just wrenches for, because I know that at some point they're either gonna understand or they're gonna get hurt, and it just ties me up, right? But those things I love, the butterflies and the birds and the lizards and the fucking babies and the puppies and the pure things in this world, the things that make you stop and just take it in, like, wow, like that just happened, right? So doing my best to acknowledge those things has really led me to this group. And I'm grateful to be here, to start breaking down these issues we talk about a lot, to be honest. Like, in the 2 years or whatever it's been since we've been working together, how many different conversations have we had about a lot?
Oh, yeah. Heaps.
So I mean, I'm looking for, like, who we're going to be able to bring into these types of conversations moving forward. You know what I mean? Who we're going to be able to tap into to learn from. And we never know who's going to watch any of this. So even if it's a handful of people, a couple dozen people, we don't know who they are. And we don't have any idea what they're going to be inclined to do. But what I would encourage them is, don't believe me. Don't believe anything we've said. Challenge us. Assume that we're lying to you. Look into it yourself. Yeah. Do your own critical thinking on this issue and the issues that we brought up. And then come back with questions for, like, I'm down with whatever questions whoever watches this has. Pop it up in the comments. Track us down on our website, IVLC. What is it, dude? What's the Squarespace? I think it's IVLC at squarespace.com. And here shortly we'll have a YouTube channel. This is literally the first discussion, so it's going to get cleaned up. It'll be more precise, on point. Probably add some music at some point. I don't know. That's some imagery.
Maybe we'll have the AI edited.
Oh, here we go. That's a good idea. But I'm going to shut up. That's me, Robert. Dude.
So I'm Robert Kowalski, Ohio, United States, 35. Served in Air Force from 6 to 11, security forces, 2 combat tours to Iraq. Got into this movement, the cannabis reform movement, in 2012 for selfish reasons, just to try and figure out and help myself get through what I was experiencing at the time. And it was through my own personal experience and my own endeavor of looking into the science, looking into what might help me, looking into the rumors and the chatter that I was hearing amongst our community back in 2012, 2013. This was really an option. And seeing the amount of medications the VA was willing to just giving me, like whom, looking at the side effects and going, you want me to ignore these? And this is going to be okay for me. At the same time, I'm, young enough to really want a family, mature enough to really feel like I want a family, to move on with my life and get to that next point, get past the things that I had already experienced in life. And then I realized that a lot of people were going through the same thing I was, and asking themselves the same questions I was, and trying to get access to the same types of things I was trying to get access to. And so that led me to really getting involved, pushing myself out of my own comfort zone, and trying to figure out why there were all these people communicating in the background, talking about how we all have our shared experience. But when I was like, okay, well, if there's this many in the background, if I show up here, there should be just as many there. And I showed up there and I was alone and there was nobody. And I was like, well, now I'm really uncomfortable, but I'm here. And so what am I going to do while I'm here? And it was really at that moment that the make or break it moment for me. Was I going to crumble and fold and freeze up in this mission I was on and not, stand my ground, not protect the people I know or saying that they need the help? Or was I going to go, okay, well, I'm here now. This is what we're doing. And I chose to do rather than freeze. And that led me to creating a nonprofit. It led me to the World Health Organization. It's led me to some great meetings and interactions with some great people. And it's put me in a position to really take me back to why I got into this in the first place, to make myself better, to make myself the best person that I could be for me and for my family. And that ultimately is what keeps me going. It's what's going to constantly keep me going, because I know, just like in life, if I feel like I know everything, I know nothing. And so I have to keep learning for myself, keep learning who I am, keep learning who my friends are, keep learning who my family is, and keep learning what makes me happy, what ticks me to keep going, and what motivates me to be me, the best version of me that I know how to be. And if I do that every day, I always try and learn something new every day, whether it's small or large. I always try and learn something new every day. I always try and share what I know with somebody every day. Whether they listen or believe me or not is on them, but just to know that I've shared my knowledge, whether that's with my wife, my son, my friends, just sharing something that might help somebody, and hoping that somebody else will take that, learn from it, and pay it forward, so that eventually we can reach enough people that the impact can be felt by everybody and not just by me. So I think with that, are we done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good look. Derek's
Well
been
done.
done. Derek's been done.